My name is Jessica, and I've been engaged for 8 months. His name is Michael. We met in college. He's kind, steady, and everything my family isn't. We were supposed to get married in 3 months. I say supposed to because I'm not sure there's going to be a wedding anymore. Not after what my mother did. I need to back up. I'm the oldest of two daughters. My sister Brianna is 23, 4 years younger than me. And she's always been the favorite. Not in subtle ways, in obvious, painful, impossible to ignore ways. When we were kids, Brianna got the bigger bedroom, the better birthday parties, the name brand clothes. I got hand-me-downs, and we'll see. When she wanted piano lessons, my parents paid for a private instructor. When I asked for art classes, I was told to use YouTube. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that everyone acted like it was normal, like it made sense that Brianna got more because she needed more. She was sensitive, emotional, high maintenance, and I was the responsible one, the one who didn't complain. By the time I graduated high school, I'd learned to expect nothing. I paid for college myself with scholarships and loans. I got a job in marketing right after graduation. I moved out at 22 and never asked my parents for a dime. Meanwhile, Brianna still lived at home, worked part-time at a boutique, and spent money like it grew on trees. My parents paid her rent when she briefly moved out, paid off her credit cards, bought her a car, and I said nothing because that's what I did. I stayed quiet. When Michael proposed last December, I was genuinely happy for the first time in years. We didn't want anything big, just a small wedding, immediate family, close friends, and simple and intimate. I'd been saving for 2 years. I had $20,000 set aside in a separate account. Enough for the venue, the catering, my dress, flowers, everything. I was so proud of that money because I'd earned every cent of it myself. My parents offered to contribute $5,000. I was shocked and honestly touched. Maybe they were finally seeing me as an adult, as someone worth celebrating. "We want to help," my mom said. "You're our daughter. This is important." I actually cried. I thought things were changing, but then Brianna got involved. She'd been dating some guy named Kyle for 6 months, a guy none of us really liked. And suddenly she decided she wanted to throw a huge celebration for their 6-month anniversary, not a wedding, not an engagement party, a 6-month dating anniversary. She wanted to rent out a restaurant, hire a DJ, get custom decorations. The whole thing would cost around $8,000. My parents didn't even blink. "That sounds lovely, honey," my mom said, and I felt that old, familiar sting. But I didn't say anything, because my wedding was still 3 months away and I had everything under control, or so I thought. 2 months before the wedding, I had my final dress fitting scheduled. I'd found the perfect dress at a small bridal boutique, nothing extravagant, just simple, elegant, and mine. The final fitting was crucial. They needed to do the last alterations, and I had to pay the remaining balance, $2,500. I'd saved the money. It was sitting in my wedding account. The morning of the appointment, my mom called. "Honey, I need to talk to you about something." Her voice had that tone, the one that meant bad news was coming. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Well, Brianna's party is next weekend and we're a little short on funds." My stomach dropped. "We were wondering if you could postpone your dress fitting," she continued. "Just for a couple weeks. We need to pay the restaurant deposit today and we're waiting on a check to clear." I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, unable to speak. "It's not a big deal," she added quickly. "You can reschedule, but Brianna's party is happening in 6 days and we can't push that back." "Mom," I said slowly, "my fitting is today. If I cancel, I might not get the dress in time for the wedding." "Oh, I'm sure they can rush it," she said dismissively. "You're so organized, Jess, you'll figure it out." There it was again. "You'll figure it out." The words I'd heard my entire life. "And what about the money you promised me?" I asked. "The $5,000 for the wedding?" Silence. "We're going to give that to you," she said. "We just need a little more time. Brianna's party came up so suddenly and—" "Her party for a 6-month anniversary," I interrupted. "Don't be like that," my mom snapped. "She's excited. This is important to her." I hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just hung up and sat in my car outside the bridal shop, shaking. I called the boutique and explained the situation. The owner was sympathetic but firm. If you don't come in today, I can't guarantee the dress will be ready in time, she said. We're already cutting it close. I understand, I said. And then I checked my wedding account. I'd been transferring money there for months. It was a joint account I shared with my mom, something she'd suggested in case of emergencies. I thought it would make things easier. I logged into the account, and my heart stopped. The balance wasn't $20,000, it was $2,000. I refreshed the page. Same number. I checked the transaction history. And there it was. 3 withdrawals over the past 2 weeks. $6,000, $7,000, $5,000, all made by my mother. Total, $18,000. Gone. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. She hadn't just postponed my dress fitting, she'd stolen my wedding fund to pay for Brianna's party. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to my parents' house and confront my mother right there. But I didn't. I sat in that car and thought about every time I'd stayed quiet, every time I'd let things go, every time I'd convinced myself it wasn't worth the fight. And I realized if I stayed silent now, this would never stop. They would keep prioritizing Brianna, keep treating me like I didn't matter. I almost let it go. Almost. But then I thought about Michael, about our wedding, about the life I was trying to build away from all of this, and I knew I wasn't going to protect them anymore. I called my bank immediately. I need to report unauthorized withdrawals from my account, I said. The representative walked me through the process. Since it's a joint account, the other account holder technically has access, she explained. But if you didn't authorize these specific transactions and they were made under false pretenses, you may have a case for fraud. She told me the account was for emergencies, I said. She used it to fund a party. That could qualify, she said. I'll start a dispute. Then I called a lawyer, a family friend who owed me a favor. I explained everything. Do I have any legal recourse? I asked. Potentially, he said. If you can prove the account was established under false pretenses and that she misrepresented her intentions, you could file a civil suit, but that'll take time, months, maybe longer. What if I just want her to face consequences now? I asked. He paused. What kind of consequences? I told him my plan. He was quiet for a long moment, then he laughed. That's not illegal, just brutal. Good, I said. Brianna's party was the following Saturday. I wasn't planning to go, but 3 days before, my mom called. Jessica, you're coming to Brianna's party, right? I don't think so, I said. You have to come. She insisted. You're her sister? It would devastate her if you weren't there. I wanted to laugh. Devastate her? What about me? But I didn't say that. Instead, I said, fine, I'll be there. My mom sounded relieved. Wonderful. It's going to be such a special night. I'm sure it will be, I said, and I meant it because I was going to make it unforgettable. The party was at an upscale restaurant downtown. Custom decorations, a DJ, an open bar, a cake that probably cost more than my monthly rent. All funded by my wedding money. I arrived late wearing jeans and a blazer. Brianna glared at me from across the room. You couldn't even dress up, she hissed when I walked in. I wasn't planning to stay long, I said. My parents were at the head table with Brianna and Kyle. My mom saw me and waved, Jessica, come sit with us. I walked over, calm and controlled. Actually, Mom, I wanted to talk to you about something, I said. Now? She looked annoyed. Can it wait? No, I said. It can't. I reached into my bag and pulled out a printed bank statement. I placed it on the table in front of her, face up. The 3 withdrawals were circled in red. $6,000, $7,000, $5,000, total $18,000. Her face went white. Brianna looked confused. What is that? That, I said clearly, is proof that Mom stole $18,000 from my wedding fund to pay for this party. The table went silent. Kyle's eyes went wide. My dad looked at my mom. What is she talking about? I didn't steal anything, my mom stammered. It was a joint account. I had access. You told me that account was for emergencies, I said. You convinced me to put my wedding savings in there so you could help me manage it. And then you drained it to throw a party for Brianna's 6-month dating anniversary. Brianna's face flushed. Jess, this is ridiculous. Is it? I turned to her. Did you know where the money came from? She hesitated. And I knew. She knew. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I have something else. I opened my email and pulled up a message thread. 3 weeks ago, Brianna sent Mom an email. I said, I got access to it through the joint account recovery process. I started reading aloud. Mom, I know Jess's wedding is coming up, but this party is so important to me. Kyle's friends are all going to be there, and I want it to be perfect. Can you use some of her fund? She won't even notice. She's got like a ton saved, and she's so chill about money, please. Brianna's face went red. And Mom replied, I continued, Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll take care of it. Jessica will understand. She always does. The silence was deafening. My dad looked at my mom like he didn't recognize her. Kyle looked at Brianna like she'd just grown a second head. And my mom looked like she wanted to disappear. You both knew, I said quietly. You both decided that my wedding didn't matter as much as this party, that I would just figure it out like I always do. Jessica, please, my mom whispered. I filed a fraud dispute with the bank this morning, I said, and I've contacted a lawyer. You have 2 choices. Pay me back every cent within 30 days, or I press charges and file a civil suit. You wouldn't, Brianna said, her voice shaking. Try me, I said. I looked at my mom. You taught me to always put family first, I said. But you never treated me like family. You treated me like a bank account. I picked up my bag. Enjoy your party, I said, and I walked out. My phone exploded within an hour. Texts from my mom, from Brianna, from relatives who'd heard what happened. How could you embarrass us like that? You ruined everything. This is so selfish. But there were other messages too. From cousins. From my aunt. I always knew something was off. You were right to do that. I'm so sorry. Michael called me that night. Are you okay? He asked. I started crying. I don't know, I said. Do you want to cancel the wedding? He asked gently. No, I said. I want to marry you. I just don't know if I can afford it anymore. Then we'll figure it out, he said. Together. And we did. We scaled everything back. We moved the wedding to a small park. We did the catering ourselves with help from friends. It wasn't the wedding I'd planned, but it was ours, and it was perfect. 3 weeks after the party, my mom's lawyer contacted mine. They wanted to settle. She'd agreed to pay back the full $18,000. She wanted to avoid the lawsuit. I accepted. The money hit my account 2 weeks later. But here's the thing. I didn't keep it. I donated every single cent to a nonprofit that helps young women plan affordable weddings because I didn't need their money anymore. I needed to prove to myself that I could let it go. The wedding happened 2 months later. It was small, intimate, nothing like I'd originally planned. My dad walked me down the aisle. My mom and Brianna weren't there. And honestly, I didn't miss them. Kyle broke up with Brianna 3 weeks after the party. Apparently, watching her conspire to steal from her sister was a deal breaker. My mom called me after it happened, crying. Brianna's heartbroken, she said. Can you please call her? I said no, and hung up. I still think about that moment sometimes, the moment I put the bank statement on the table, the look on my mother's face, the silence that followed. People ask me if I regret it, if I wish I'd handled it differently, and the answer is no, because for the first time in my life, I chose myself. I stopped being the one who figures it out. I stopped being the backup plan. Michael and I just celebrated our first anniversary. We bought a house last month, small but ours, and my mother sent a card asking if we could start over. I haven't responded yet. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. But I'm not in a hurry. Because this time, I'm not doing anything unless it's on my terms.